Students, here we will discuss in this video the merits and demerits of joint stock company. Now coming to the merits. Now joint stock company, what I have not said, let me tell you here that it can be both public and private company. Companies can be both public and private. Now merits and demerits. Now what is the merit? Now since you know that there are so many shareholders in joint stock company, now in case of any kind of loss of the business or they are indebted to various creditors in the market, what happens in case of sole proprietor? You have seen that a person is liable so much that if he cannot meet the debts, his personal property will also be attached. But here what happens, since there are many number of shareholders, the burden of any kind of loss is also adjusted by everyone. So everyone is liable to pay up for the loss of the company, and each of them have limited liability, so they don't have to attach their personal properties as well in order to clear up the depths of the market. What they have to do, they have to pay the how much they are liable only up to the capital contributed by them. Suppose you have contributed a certain amount of money in the business, you are liable to lose that much of money, and what is unpaid by you, you have to pay that portion of your capital, and each of the shareholders have to do the same. But loss can be recovered as the loss is spread within the shareholders. Loss sharing is done, so each individual has limited liability or limited burden in case of loss of the company. Number 2, transfer of interest. Now this point I have already discussed when I was doing the features of joint stock company. Suppose I no longer want to be the investor of the company, I am no longer interested. Without any permission of other shareholders, I can transfer the share, which was not possible in case of partnership. You cannot transfer the share instead without getting the consent of other partners. So here I can do it. So what, nobody is forced to hold or to be a shareholder or an investor of a company if you are not willing to. So you can transfer the share and you can recover your money from the person whom you have given the share. So there is a chance of recovery to get the capital back, so it avoids blockage of the invested capital. Nobody wants their money to be blocked. So if I don't want the money to be blocked in the company, what I do, I give the shares and get the money from the person. So I get back my invested capital as I am no longer the shareholder. Number 3, perpetual succession. Now, when anybody comes in the field of business, they take business as an ongoing process. That means when you know that I am starting a business which is going to end in 3 months, you will never start a business by putting your efforts. So everyone wants their business to run for and survive in the market in future. Similarly, when the company is started with the thought that it will do a better business and will be able to survive in the market, and so it is possible also as there is perpetual succession. That means a company or the business in the form of a company continues to run even if any of the shareholder dies, turns out insolvent, which does not affect the continuance of the business. So it's not that you have earned profit and suddenly you have to wind up yourself. It's not like that. A company can run, it can earn profits multiple times without even losing its continuance. It can survive for a long time. Number 4, scope for expansion. Now what I said, that say there are so many shareholders, large number of shareholders contributing their capital. So there is lot of capital or money with which the business is starting. So if the business want to expand also, it can do that because the huge capital supports the expansion. Number 5, professional management. Now the board of directors, they manage the working of the company. The owners don't manage over here. But the owners choose the representatives who are professional, who will be making the minimum or the least mistake possible, who will be taking the decision on behalf of them must be well enough. So with the large fund, it helps the company to get the benefit of professional management. Because if the company or the business don't have huge funds, huge funding, then it is impossible to hire a professional management who will manage the company on the behalf of the shareholders. But since there are many shareholders and lot of money is entering the business, they can hire with that some skilled and professional management to take the decisions and the work and to do the operations of the company day to day. Now what are the demerits? These are the merits. Now the demerits are, what I said, its formation is complex because it has step-by-step formalities which I will be discussing afterwards, that what are the formalities required for a company to come up. So there is complexity in formation because there are a lot of documents, legal steps, registration. So if you in the initial phase of starting a business face so many problems, it's a kind of demerit. Number 2, lack of secrecy. Now there are so many shareholders. If in a partnership business there are 2 partners, 2 to 3 when it becomes, you try to fear that there might be some person who might reveal the business secrets. But when there are so many shareholders, there is no basis of trust only, because you don't know who is going to reveal the business secrets to whom. And the management doesn't get any kind of profit. They are just participating, influencing the decision making, and whatever profit comes in the business, that gets to the shareholders. The effective working of the company lies in the hands of management, but they are not profited because they are only the decision makers to make maximum profit and give it back as dividends to shareholder. They are salaried person. They get the salary and not part of profit. So they can also reveal the business secrets. So when there are too many people, when trust issues occur, some business secrets definitely they get out in the channel outside the business. So lack of secrecy, and when your competitors might be getting some clue of your business secrets, they might take certain measures to incorporate it in their own business. Number 3, impersonal work environment. Now just now I said one thing, that the shareholders are the owners of the company and management is elected by them, and they are the ultimate decision makers, which results whether their decision results how much profit is received at the end and how much the shareholders are going to get back. But the management is salaried people. They get huge salary, but they are not benefited even if their decision can make huge profit to the shareholders. So an attitude develops when you know that you are not benefited. Then will you be taking a major step or major decision? Will you be using your major idea over there? when you know that your decision is going to contribute to somebody else's profit and you will continue to earn the same salary. So will you contribute your efforts so much that always higher profits are generated? No. So when the management is not benefited in any way, their efforts are not paid back. So their efforts will automatically turn less and they won't think so much to increase how the profits can be increased for the shareholders. If the profit was also contributed to the management as well, they would have thought much more. So when management's decision only influence the profit making, but the profit is reaped by the shareholders. So the management sometimes become reluctant to take the decisions since the profit generated by them might not influence their own income. So it results in an impersonal work environment where the interest of shareholders and management differ. Number 4, numerous regulation. Now this company, they are subject to numerous regulation, legal regulation like audit, voting, then getting certificates, acquiring certificates. So when there are too many regulations control in its working, then obviously that kind of a business can flourish pretty less. So it's a kind of demerit. When you are too much controlled, too much regulated, then you are unable to come out yourself in true colors. Then delay in decision making. Now what I said, that shareholders are scattered, they are not united, and management, and sometimes there are so many shareholders that they are not able to directly keep themselves in contact with the management. So the management and the shareholders, there is a gap between their communication gap. And what happens, whatever decision the management takes, there might be few shareholders who do not agree to the management. Some shareholders might think that taking such a decision might reduce their profit. And so what happens, a confusion is created whether to take the decision or not. All these dilemmas go, and what happens, some opportunities within the time may be going away, and so the benefit cannot be taken and it results in delay in decision making. So decision making is time consuming here, because even if the management is the decision making body, they have to have some consultation with the shareholders because they are the basic owners. So their decision influences the owner's income, and sometimes their decision might not be agreeable. Sometimes within the management only there might be problem between the members of board of director in agreeing to a certain conclusion. So which results in delay in decision making. Sometimes opportunities go away from their hand and the company is not benefited in any way. Then oligarchic management. Now oligarchy means rule by a few people. Now this is also similar point. What I said, that management means, suppose board of director are the basic rulers of the business, of the company. So 4 to 5 people are basically ruling, and the shareholders have no role to play in the decision making. So what happens, sometimes even if the shareholders' interest doesn't match with the management's decision, their decisions or shareholders' words are not kept in mind because the management is in the supreme power of the board of directors. So only 5 to 6 people who constitute the management, they take decision making. They have the decision making power. So companies, it looks as if there are so many shareholders, but its management lies on, or decision making lies on, only fewer hands, and sometimes the management also takes faulty decision. Their interest doesn't match with shareholders' interest and problems generally spiral up. Then conflict of interest. Suppose shareholders, management. So suppose shareholders are the main owners, management are the board of directors are the decision makers. Whatever decision they take, suppose they take a decision to increase the price, because when price of the product increases, then profit will be increased. But suppose when you sell off, the customers are not satisfied with the business product. They want better quality. But the management takes the entire decision. So management may be using such techniques of production, reducing the cost so much that they don't deliver better quality to the customer. So customer have issues related to the business. But shareholders don't want that to happen, because they are owners of the business. They want to earn regular profit. So they have to have the confidence of the customers, because they are the ones who are the profit providers at the ultimate end to the shareholders. So customers, if they are not happy, then any day this business might not run properly due to lack of customers, and the shareholders might be entering loss. But the shareholder is much away from the knowledge of management's decision. So the management has to decide effectively in such a way that it pleases the customers, such that the business always have customers who contributes to the profit earning of the shareholders, and for maximum profit contribution to the shareholders only the decision making body is recruited. So sometimes there arises conflict of interest. Shareholders wants the customers to be happy, but management cannot decide in that way. They are reducing the cost and making cheap quality things. Sometimes shareholders, they create a problem. They want more dividends from the company, but management is unable to take such decision which will maximize the profit earning. Sometimes within the shareholders, there are so many shareholders, their interest or their views also is different. So in total, a conflicting situation may arise among all those who are related to the company. So these are the demerits, these are the merits of joint stock company.